So I'm just going to make a quick introduction. Kris Jacobsen is the Director of Business Development for the Minnesota Credit Union Network, and today we are going to be talking about credit union leagues.
Awesome, thank you. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity. Having a little bit of time to talk with you. I'm used to obviously doing a lot of travel across the country and being in credit unions. Still, I've got my, if you can see my open your eyes to a credit union t-shirt on. It's one of my,
Nice.
yeah, I typically fly with this, and we can talk about it later, but, you know, get into the a myriad of really good conversations in general. So got it here with me at home. It's just, it's doing more display time on Zoom than it is, unfortunately, face-to-face and traveling right now.
Well, I'm glad you showed us the whole t-shirt, because depending on kind of how you're sitting, you can only see the part that says open your eyes. So,
yeah.
So now we know what the whole thing says.
now we know what the whole thing says.
Yes. Yeah. So Kris, I know credit unions right now are stretched trying to meet so many simultaneous demands. They're continuing service to their members when branches are closed. They're meeting the needs of financially distressed members, and they're adjusting to new remote work models with their employees. So I'm curious how your credit union network has responded.
Yeah, it's you know, really, you know, you think about what we do, and you know, my shirt says a lot of it, right? I mean, first and foremost, we're here to advocate for credit unions. And, you know, the way we're measured in that is our ability to create an environment that's conducive to them to operate and, you know, grow their market share. And so at the end of the day, you know, we've worked to do what we do. We reach out to the credit unions and really, what's their need from us? What do they need us to do? What do they want us to do? At the onset of this is, one of the great things about the league system and credit unions and our model in general is really the cooperation amongst cooperatives. And so at the onset of this, we did daily CEO briefing calls. You know, we essentially would get every CEO in Minnesota. We've got about 100 credit unions in Minnesota. And so a very high percentage of those would be on the call to, you know, give briefings following what what announcements were coming out of the legislature and governor's office. You know, as things have transitioned, we've pared some of that down a little less frequently. However, we continue to do a forum to provide updates and really this opportunity for CEOs to ask questions and share with each other. So that was a big thing, is that they wanted to know from their peers, what are you doing, how are you doing it? Out of that, we've created an online resources page, and you know, we've heard like the word unprecedented time so many times, and that's a reality. When I look at what was one of the things unprecedented, there is really the amount of information that came out in a short period of time. And so for us, it was using all our resources to kind of divide and conquer, pare that down, and simplify, really simplify the noise. Put it back to them in a format that was hopefully easier to digest and acted as an extension of their staffs. We set up an online private clearinghouse for document sharing among credit union CEOs. That was a big ask, you know, as notifications were sent out, as changes were sent out, as things around PPP were sent out. You know, some credit unions have that capacity where they've got, you know, the writers and compliance folks and legal folks to do those things. They were really willing to share so that every credit union of all sides could really communicate with clarity from a professional and from a legal compliance perspective. We a lot of sleepless days with the SBA and the PPP program. We were the liaison between there. and that was, I mean, that was, talk about a massive undertaking, trying to get those many dollars out in the short period of time that it did to folks. And it was a very challenging time. There was not a lot of, it was constantly developing, it was evolving, and credit unions really wanted to make sure at the end of the day that they're doing these appropriately, so that these loans are forgiven, and they don't end up holding these loans on the books, and and really creating some liquidity issues. So, a lot of work there, good feedback, really, and it was great because credit unions that were very familiar with the process helped guide other credit unions to make some decisions along the way, whether or not to participate, whether to refer members, how to serve members, updates on systems, and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
We've been working really hard at advocating with the state and federal legislators on COVID-related legislation, obviously, making sure that these are, not having a negative impact on the credit unions. Mm-hmm. And then just working through the, continuing to be a hub for consumer information, resource page, public service announcements on availability, safety, security, live radio forum, and financial literacy forum we're doing. The second part, and that's kind of like the second part really on the products and service side. When we look at what we do in terms of advocacy, it's really the two ways on the association services, and then our services corporation, which work with credit unions on products and services. We know it's about critical needs right now, and we're only looking at and working on products and services that are critical needs at this time. We know credit unions they're not going to be looking at the wish list and saying, these are things that I want to accomplish. These are things that I want to do. It's really looking at, what's their position. And credit unions are and will continue to experience some balance sheet and income issues. Loan demand is anemic, with Fed funds rate at 0. Loans that are being rewritten are repricing likely higher price loans. With all the volatility in the market and all the liquidity in the market, deposits continue to stack up in the credit union. And so, you really look at this just from a mathematical perspective, not being able to write loans and make that income while your, deposits and liabilities climb is really an income issue. And that's gonna show its way. And what we project is credit unions are gonna be losing money, and they're likely gonna be going through, capital. So.
Yeah. So, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so just the big things there were, is really looking at the, full balance sheet, looking at partners on investment strategies, stress testing portfolios, lending solutions, what are ways to continue doing loans, digital and member engagement. How do you really serve these members in those ways? We're looking at launching it's going to be the first to market free donation platform where credit union members will be able to give to their charities, and those charities won't have to pay any of the fees associated with that, which are typically upwards of 7%. Yeah, so it's kind of looking at the whole gamut of what are the needs. Financial literacy, obviously a big thing, and that's true for credit union staff and members. This is scary times for a lot of people, and so doing what we can to make sure that people have the resources and folks to talk to.
Well, great job, because you literally just anticipated my next question, which was, what are some of the credit unions' areas of greatest need right now? So
yeah, well, right. And I think, with that really, immediate needs, right? I feel like that's probably, just our desire as human beings, and really just ensuring employees and members feel safe. They've been forced to serve in different ways, different hours. I feel like, you talk to folks just in general, and everyone's got some degree of heightened emotion, and I think that's true with members and staff. They've really got to work to find creative ways for themselves as well, to get through this, as well as their members. Credit unions are out doing this work. We know that with this, very high levels of unemployment and job loss, credit unions are in the business of writing loans, right? Their primary business is deposit accounts and writing loans. In many cases, serving the underserved. Loan losses are going to increase, right? And they're working with members to, do skip a pays, work with loan modifications, and do those things to get them through. And so the upside is that we've gone into this environment as an industry with some of the highest levels of capital. Credit unions have seen certainly since the Great Recession, and so this too shall pass, and we'll come out of this. And credit unions ultimately, that's why they have capital. That's why they retain capital, is to get through these times, and reinvest that money in their membership.
Yeah.
I think they have to think about this now, but the impact here tomorrow is really kind of the membership growth is a challenge in this environment, right? There just aren't people aren't out and about. They're not going into branches. They're not signing up for accounts,
right.
And then you've got the, loan demand that's really fallen. So, as we talked about, growth in deposits and assets while the loan portfolio shrinks, is a compounding problem on capital. You're seeing this compression of income, net income, and obviously that's going to create some issues with credit unions where they're likely going to see a decline in their levels of capital.
Yeah. So do you see any trends that credit unions should start preparing for now?
I think, business as usual will forever be a different, version of business as usual, I think. In some ways, and I've been in financial institutions for the past 20 years, we've all been looking for ways to serve our members more efficiently, right? The more efficiently that we can serve our members, ultimately, the more money we can give back to the members in the form of lower rates on loans and higher rates on deposits, while we don't have to have fees. And part of that is, how do we drive the cost of transactions down, and how do we be more efficient? And a lot of that is in serving members in self-serve and in digital ways. And so in many ways, this has, created a forced opportunity for that to happen, right? People have had to get more familiar with, my wife just said this the other day. She goes, this mobile deposit's the best thing ever, right? And I'm thinking to myself, why haven't you been using this for 10 years? And she's like, oh, it's just you go to the bank and it's a habit, and now I can just sit here and take a picture. And so
yeah,
I think a lot of that is
mobile deposit, you can never go back.
yeah, it's so some of those things I think are that stuff is going to be here to stay. The other piece of it is I think future trends is the human resources stuff. We've staffing changes, position changes, right people, right places, doing the right things, more work from home capabilities and opportunities. What does that look like? I think we've seen, and many have been able to, experience this. I think a lot of folks have shown they've been able to be productive working from home. And from a financial institution perspective, that's probably one of the, we're normally not out in the front and the cutting edge, right? It's safe, secure, it's protecting money, it's building relationships, it's, it's doing those things. And so, I think that's been a big leap, right? For a lot of credit unions to have, the faith and trust and adapt the technology required to be safe, sound, and secure, so people could do their jobs from other locations. But I think it's going to have a huge impact, right? Branching strategy probably changes as a result of this. If they don't need 5,000 square foot branches and they can be more efficient and better serve members, I believe there's, the many sharp leaders out there of credit unions today will make those changes.
Yeah. So what about credit union leagues? Do you see any evolution happening there in how you serve your members?
Yeah, I do. And I don't, what we're seeing is credit unions are and really do continue to thrive. We've seen some consolidation, but really credit unions continue to grow in numbers. They continue to grow market share. And so with the continued expansion and growth of credit unions, the leagues in general are going to have to focus more resources on advocacy. And that's really, when you break that down, that's playing offense politically, regulatorily, and in the public affairs. Leagues have got to become more data driven, like credit unions, right? How do we, we've got to be sophisticated in messaging to internal and external audiences. I think this focus of resources is going to require leagues to collaborate more with other leagues that have some strong core competencies in these areas, so we can really work together to support each other. There's naturally going to be more collaboration with CUNA in advocacy and on the compliance side, to make sure that those, that's one of the highest costs that credit unions have to bear. And I would say, look for more partnership between leagues, continued ways to innovate and support credit unions.
Mm-hmm. Partnership and collaboration. I think those are two wonderful themes for the future.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Yeah. It's always been a collective credit union strength. It's been a way we differentiate, and it doesn't require times like this to have that stand out, but certainly it does provide perspective, and I think folks in this industry and members of credit unions are thankful for that.
Yeah. Well, Kris, that's all the questions I've got for you today. Thank you so much for your time.